All right, I'm Brasden. This is Firesnout and Wheat, a variety gaming channel named after my two sweet guinea pigs. But today we're going to be doing some ramen reviews. And as you can see next to me, we're doing some Tapatio Birra flavor. Now, I don't know what that means other than it's beef and it's spicy and it's delicious. And you can see the steam, all right? But I gotta say, right off the bat, because we're gonna go into broth first, right? And we're talking about smells, we're talking about flavors, we're talking about all that stuff. So if I'm going right off the top, I can smell a difference. We just reviewed the beef bone broth by Shin Black, and I am very familiar with what that smells like, tastes like, all that. One of my favorite ramens of all time. I can smell some cinnamon in here. I'm pretty sure. Not something I was expecting, but it is a lovely aroma. We'll see how it tastes. But as far as broth smell goes, the addition of cinnamon really does give it a nice smell. Hopefully it'll give us a more cozy feel too, because cinnamon kind of has that property a bit. Let's see. Let's just taste the broth first, as we do. I'm gonna have to take another sip. I'll say this. That's a complex flavor. It's complex. Okay, so where I can smell the cinnamon, I can't really taste the cinnamon. Is that bad? No. Cinnamon also has other qualities. Like it can add a little bit of spice, obviously. There's plenty of spice in here. And I would even wager that the spice profile is better than the spice profile in beef bone broth in the Shin Black. So in a way, it's not better. It's definitely just different. I would put this broth up there for sure with the Shin Black. Hold on, let's go one more sip. Hold on. All right. Smell, flavor, texture. Here's the thing. Okay, so you guys saw last week, right? Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. You guys saw that I gave the broth for Shin Black a straight up 10 out of 10. No better broth, right? And I said that this is not better, but kind of the same, maybe off to the side a little bit. I'm going to give this a 9.5. Nah, let's go 9.0. I'm going to give you a significant reason though. So I love the broth. It's great. It's a great flavor. Like I'm going to eat the hell out of this. This is delicious. Where the broth loses a couple points is that I've had creamier broths. I've had smoother broths. I've had broths that overall are maybe... No, this is a very dynamic one. But I think it comes down to the texture. The smell of this is amazing. It might even smell better, just the aroma of it, better than the Shin Black. Which is hard for me to admit. But as far as the flavor goes, comparable flavor, texture, a little bit more watery than the Shin Black. And texture is huge. So I'm going to knock it down a full point for that. But I do think that this broth stands high above most broths in ramen that I've ever had. By a lot. Like it's standing next to Shin Black in a lot of ways. So that's for the broth. And oh my goodness, man, the broth is good. Cinnamon will do that. It sounds like it. Yeah, if anybody's wondering, I'm communicating with chat. We do this on Twitch. If anybody would like to check out these reviews early, come over to our Twitch at Firesnout and Wheat. We're over there. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, I'm talking to chat in case you're wondering what's going on there. But yeah, so very, very happy with so far with the broth. It's been fantastic. Big fan of that. Now let's take a look at these noodles. It's been great so far. So I'll say this. Definitely different looking than the Shin Black. They are bouncy. I'll give them. They're bouncy. These are the bouncy noodles you're looking for. Okay, we'll take that. That's good news. You want the bouncy noodles? Let's see the flavor here and the texture. Take one more bite. I don't want to be quick to judge here. Let's make sure we get a second bite. Okay. So this is let me get a paper towel here. Get some congestion, as I do for spicy stuff. Or decongestion? Yeah, you get it. Anyway, something that I was a little bit worried about with newcomers to the ramen game, and these guys are a little bit newer. You worry a little bit about the noodles. And while they are very bouncy, I would say the texture is more gummy than it is chewy. And that's kind of the opposite of what I look for personally. I like it when it's chewy but not gummy. I like it when it tastes like it's not going to fall apart and be a part of the broth itself eventually. I don't know that it's getting that soft because, like I said, they are bouncy noodles. Like they're doing their job. Like you see how bouncy they are. They're holding up, but I think it's somewhat due to its gumminess that it's holding together like that. And the flavor, I gotta say, I can't really taste the noodle. It doesn't really have a flavor. But they're bouncy, and I do think they would hold up even though they are gummy. All right. So for noodles, I'm going to give it one more bite so I don't jump the gun here. I want to be fair. I want to be fair. Get that third bite just in case. Yeah. I think it comes down to the gumminess. You don't want any gumminess to your noodles, and I think that this has that. So we're going to give this, the bounciness is holding it together. It really is. There's not really much flavor to speak of in the noodle. The broth is doing the heavy lifting there. And it's doing a great job, but the noodles themselves aren't even really absorbing the flavor of that very well. So I think it's kind of hard to say this, but I think we're going with like a 6.5 on the noodle. Below 5 would be, they don't bounce. They fall apart. They don't have flavor. So I think 6.5 is pretty fair. It's bouncy. It's got one of the three qualities that you really want in your ramen. The texture itself, like I said, it leaves something to be desired. It's almost kind of gummy and slimy, where I don't feel that way with the Shin Black or anything like that. So, not comparing necessarily, but using it as a reference, right? So as far as that goes, yeah, noodles they're a mixed bag. They're okay. They're better than cup noodles by a lot. Cup noodle, whenever we do try that, if we do, we'll likely get a very, very low noodle ranking. They just, they're just tossing it out there to make a quick buck. They're not too worried about the quality, at least in my opinion. But yeah, let's get to the broth. I'm sorry, not the broth, but the toppings. Let's get to the toppings. Now, as you can or maybe can't see, there's really not much to speak of. There's no garnish. There's little specks. You see them here in the side. And that comes mostly from the seasoning. Now we did get a packet of vegetables inside of it, but as you can see, they kind of just disappeared. They're not really in there. There's no real vegetable to speak of. I think I see a small piece there that I might be able to grab. I lost it. Never mind. Yeah, they're just flakes. Even if I grab it, like you can see I grabbed it on my fork there. Or sorry, on my fork, wow, on my chopstick, but it's just, tiny, tiny nothing, you know? Um, so I can't give you really a review on the flavor of the toppings. I can't give you a texture review on the toppings, because they kind of don't exist. So for that one, I'll say this: they gave me a packet. That's more than nothing. So I'll give them a two. You can have a two for that. You did try. There was a packet. It did say there was going to be toppings. But at the end of the day, it left us a bit disappointed topping wise. But I think the most important score is going to be the final score, obviously, right? So let's try to use what we did last time, which is we're just going to take the score itself and then combine it and average it, or average and combine it, combine and average it out, and then use that average as the total. I'm gonna have one more bite, just parting thought here. Okay, so flat out, this is a good ramen. It's totally good. The broth saves it. It really does. The broth is the star here. It stands out above everything else. The toppings are kind of nothing. The noodles are very average at best, but the broth is really holding it together. The smell of it, like I would welcome walking into a room that smells like this ramen. Where, sometimes you walk into a room where someone's cooking some ramen and you're like, oh man, it's going to smell like that for like a couple hours. That's not the best. But this doesn't give me that. Like, you could totally fire this up in like a workplace and you would be fine. It puts off pleasant smells. It doesn't put off ramen smells necessarily. Maybe I need to leave the room and walk back in and get a better idea of that. But generally speaking. So Pasole, we got a question in chat here. Does it touch that Pasole itch or does it miss the mark? So we were hoping that with the more like Hispanic and Mexican infusion here in the ramen, that we would get something a little closer to Pasole. But I don't think it really hits that mark. I think the Pasole has a bit more tomato and whatnot in it. That makes the soup a little bit more robust flavor wise, a little more complex. But I'll say this: it's definitely taken me down a similar road. It does have some of the things in it that stood out in that soup to me. So it doesn't hit the mark, but it's not a complete miss either. Um, but yeah, that's just a little more info there for you. Let's see for the final score. Okay, so let's just do it how we did it originally. We're gonna take the 9 and the 2, right? High and low. So put the 9 and the 2. What's in between that? Give it about a 5 there, right? Maybe a 6. How about we give that a 6? And then a 6 and a 6.5. Damn. Damn. I don't even want to rate it that low. I think we're going to have to adjust our scoring a bit. Only because this ramen is better than what I'm about to score it. Yeah, average all three. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Let's grab a calculator. Just to be specific. Average of all is 5.8. Never mind. We've already got it for us. We've got a great chat here. That's so low. I really don't want to give it that score. But I'm looking at the numbers, man. I said what I said. And we set a standard. So we have to follow it, all right? Like at the end of the day, these videos don't mean anything unless we keep everything exactly how it is, right? So let's keep it how it is. You can still hear my opinions in the video for those of you who are watching this more intently to like get an idea of if you would like this ramen or not. Know that this ramen is better than the score that I'm giving it. But we have set a certain way of doing the score, so we're gonna follow that. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to give this one a low score here. It's gonna be a 5.8. Well, I'm gonna double check just to be sure. I trust you, Fodoc, but just to be sure, I'm gonna go ahead and do it myself, so that I can't blame anybody else if it's wrong. Let's see. Yeah, it's 5.8.5. Yeah. Maybe add a curve to your opinion called the Firesnout factor. Yeah, maybe we'll add an extra score under that, like personal score, like what I think is maybe the best out of it. It's not a bad idea, but I do want to keep everything very, accurate. And yeah, I think I'm with you on that. If it's at 5, I'm gonna give it a or 5.5 point or 5.8.5. We'll give it the 9. So let's give it that 5.9. And I think that's fair. I think this is a good score, with the exception of I do think the broth carries it a little further than the average is showing. I don't want to raise the broth because the broth isn't as creamy as I would like. It doesn't have that smooth quality to it that I look for. Does that make it a bad broth? Absolutely not. It's 9 out of 10. It's so good. But is it everything I want in a broth, like the beef bone broth ramen? No. That's a 10 out of 10. If they add a little cinnamon to that broth, it's over. Like we could say goodbye to Tapatio if we want to. But until they start using cinnamon, I do think this is a good option. I think if you can't get Shin Black, you should get this. It's got its own flavor, and it's also very delicious on its own. Um, that's kind of the same thing I just said twice in a row, but don't worry about that. We're not editing. Anyways, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to sit down and get some ramen reviews going, see what we like, see if we like the same things. If we don't, leave your messages in the comments. I won't read them, but no, I might. If they're nice, I'll read them. If they're mean, I'll ignore them. But thank you very much for joining us for this review today. It's the Tapatio Birria, or Birria, however you say it. You're right. All right, next time. See you later, folks. Bye. Yay.